Hello and welcome to another episode of the WEM Video Academy. Today we are going to have an in-depth look at flowchart nodes. Every WEM application is built from flowcharts, and the flowchart node bar is where you will find the tools to create your business processes. The flowcharts can be built and accessed in the first tab of the WEM Modular Resource pane. A new flowchart can be created from the context menu like this. An existing flowchart can be opened from the context menu as well, or by double-clicking it. Let's have a look at the flowchart editor first. The flowcharts are built on a canvas featuring a grid of major and minor grid lines. The canvas can be zoomed in and out using the zoom buttons or the scroll wheel on your mouse. It can be moved around by holding the spacebar on your keyboard and moving your mouse. And you can return to the default view by clicking the 100% button. Every flowchart starts with the start node. Additional nodes can be placed anywhere in the grid, but we advise to place them on the major grid line junctions at comfortable distance from each other. The lines between the nodes are called exits. They can be drawn by moving the mouse close to a node and clicking the highlighted circle. An exit will be attached to the target node automatically, after which the mouse button can be released. Avoid crossing exits because it will make the flowchart unclear. On the left-hand side of the editor, we find the color-coded node bar of the flowchart editor. Let's have a look at the node groups first, before we dive into the individual nodes. The interaction node in blue. This is, in a way, the most important node in the bar because it invokes the application user. The interaction node returns a full screen or overlay dialog for user information and input. The multicolored routing nodes. Here we find nodes for navigating through our flow, adding subflows and ending flows in several ways. The yellow decision node. This is where we create conditional logic in order to make our flows smart and context dependent. Green database nodes. These are all the nodes you require to manage and maintain your application database. Gray interaction and processing nodes. This section enables integration of your application with other applications and services on the internet, including AI-driven processes. A group of multicolored miscellaneous nodes. Here we find nodes for advanced authentication and messaging. And at the bottom, the note node. Now let's examine the nodes one by one. We will provide a summary of the node features here. Check out the links in the description below for videos on specific nodes elsewhere in the Video Academy. The User Interaction node, or just Interaction node, will build a full screen or overlay dialog in the browser of the application user. As a general rule, full screens are used for providing information to the user, while overlays are used for specific process updates as well as collecting user input. The two key features of an interaction node are the template and the custom exits. The Edit Template button will show the template editor in a new tab in the project window. The template editor contains a ribbon of default WEM components that can be used to build the screen. For example, the button component can be dragged into the template and will render a button for the user to click. Every component has a number of properties displayed in the property pane on the right-hand side of the screen. The custom exits allow the application user to choose different routes in the flowchart. For example, we could create a custom exit modify data, allowing the user to move from the main screen to the overlay screen. The exit can be followed by adding a follow button exit to the screen and selecting the custom exit we just created. In the same way, a return exit can be created to let the user return from the dialog to the main screen. More details on user interactions can be found in the related videos in the Video Academy or in the links in the description below. The end node. This is used to allow the flow to exit the current flowchart and return to where this flowchart was called from. The end node is used for sub-flowcharts, execute flowchart buttons, and for subroutines called from the application menu. The end node can usually be found at the right-hand side or bottom side of a flowchart. A flowchart may contain more than one end node. An application flow is built from multiple flowcharts. In a well-built WEM application, flowcharts are compact and related to one small part of the total flow only. By combining multiple sub-flowcharts in a main one, the overall application flow remains clear and the relationship between the process parts can be easily understood by developers as well as business owners. The end nodes defined in a sub-flowchart are available as exits in the sub-flowchart node. If you want to update the layout of your flowchart, you can select one or more nodes holding the Control key on your keyboard, and then move the nodes to a new location. Stick to the grid junctions again for maintaining a clear layout. The navigation node relates to a navigation item in one of the menus of the WEM application. It allows for the application to start a new main flow linked to that specific navigation item, like this. A navigation node does not have any exits. For instance, in this flowchart, we check whether an application user is logged in, and if not, we will route the application to the login navigation item. The WEM application retains data of the user session on the so-called session server. An example of session data are the details of the user logged into the application. The clear session node is equal to the regular end node, but clears all session data in addition to that. This node could be used for a logout process, clearing the user session data. The decision node is a particularly important node in the flowchart. The decision node contains an expression of which the value is calculated at the moment the flow reaches this node. The outcome of the expression will determine the next step. For example, this decision node checks whether a user has logged into the application. Based on the result of that expression, the flow will either continue to the home screen or route the user to the login process. Decision nodes are often used for yes/no decisions, but can also be used, for instance, for exits based on numeric values or static data selections. The assignment node is the first of the green database nodes used to manage the application database presented in the Data Model tab of the Project Resource window. The assignment node is used to assign values to one or more of the database fields or session fields in the data model. The values can be assigned by selecting one of the default options or by clicking the advanced option, allowing to build an expression for this value. The value assignments are executed in the listed order. The order can be changed by using the arrow buttons. A group assignment can be given a name like this. The list action node provides a number of specified database list actions. We can choose between adding a row, finding an existing row, or deleting one or more specified rows. Finding an existing row can be subjected to a filter expression limiting the range of applicable rows, and an order, defining in which order to navigate the consecutive rows. We can also choose to reset the row position. The row position indicator is used to indicate the current row being processed in the application flow. Once the row position indicator has been set, it will remain in position throughout the session until it is instructed to move to another row or a clear row position node has been reached. The loop node is used to walk through a database or transient list. It can be used to perform updates to a selection of rows in the list, or to copy data to another list, for instance, for creating a report or a chart. Like the list action, the loop can be executed in a specified order by providing one or more sorting expressions, and it can be subjected to a filter expression, including or excluding certain rows during the loop operation. A loop node has two exits. The next row exit determines which flow needs to be executed for each row found during the loop operation. This flow always returns to the loop node in order to process the next row. The end of loop exit is followed when the loop node has finished the entire list or list selection. The copy data node is used to copy data from one database or transient list to another. A filter expression can be applied to the source list, and the destination list can be dragged in here. Once the destination list has been selected, the mapping between source and destination lists can be configured. The Edit Mappings button shows a mapping dialog allowing to fill the fields in the destination list with an expression of fields in the source list. The Save Database List Changes node is the single node for updating all database changes in the user session into the database of the WEM application. When adding, modifying, or deleting rows in a database list, the changes are stored on the session server initially. These changes can only be seen by the user in the session, not by other application users. The changes are not persistent, meaning they will be lost if the user leaves the session by closing the application. Only when passing the Save Database List Changes node, the changes are updated into the database and will become persistent. From that moment onwards, the changes will be available to the other application users. The Save Database List Changes node does not have any effect on transient lists. The Discord Database List Changes node is the exact opposite of the Save Database List Changes node. Instead of saving the database list changes, it will remove those changes from the session. This node is used for housekeeping, so to speak. It will prevent unwanted updates to the database in case a Save Database List Changes node is passed at a later moment in the application flow. This is useful when providing a user the option to cancel or discard user input. The Import Data node is the first node of the integration section of the Flowchart node bar. This node can be used to import data into your WEM application from various sources. JSON, short for JavaScript Object Notation, is a method of building structured data into a plain text string. XML, short for Extensible Markup Language. XML is another method of building structured data into a plain text string. CSV or Microsoft Excel. This option can be used to fill your application database from a comma-separated values text file or an Excel spreadsheet. The Import Data node has a source field property for the text or file field containing the source data and an Edit Mappings button for creating the field mappings. It also features a Create Mapping Example button for extracting the mapping structure from the data. The Export Data node is the exact opposite of the Import Data node and works in the same way. More information on using the Import JSON and Export JSON nodes for web services can be found in the links in the description of this video. WEM applications have a feature for exposing and consuming web services. A web service can be built like the application itself with its own flowchart and data model and is exposed as a REST and SOAP service simultaneously. A SOAP web service can be consumed by importing the so-called WSDL file of the web service. A web service consumed in this way can be called from the flowchart using the Invoke web service node. This node will call the web service using the required input data and will return the response of the call in the output data section. The output data can be used in the flowchart directly, for instance, for importing it into the application database. Another method of calling a web service is by sending an HTTP request. The HTTP request node is versatile, allowing to send all of the HTTP request types as specified in the HTTP documentation. Data can be exchanged with the web service using the Export JSON node for the request and the Import JSON node for the response. The request can be sent with query fields and request headers, and different authentication methods are offered. The status codes received in the response can be used to follow different custom exits in the flowchart. More information on using the HTTP request node can be found in the links in the description of this video. For dedicated application actions such as sending emails, generating PDF documents or QR codes, predefined processes are available inside the Execute Process node. For example, here we see the process node for sending an email from the WEM application. The property pane on the right-hand side provides access to the email configuration properties, such as sender information and the email body template. The ping server node is used to check the availability of an internet resource at a certain IP address. You can use this node to check this availability before sending a request to the resource. This will prevent your application from hanging at this process in case of non-availability. The result of the ping response can be stored in a Boolean session field. The WEM modeler allows access to a range of different OpenAI sources. The available options are transcribing or translating audio clips, completing a chat, or generating an image. The Authenticate node relates to the SAML authentication and OAuth 2 authorization services that can be configured in the Integration tab of the project resource window. The node has exits for successful and failed authentication or authorization responses and can be used to build delegated access into your WEM application. More information on these services can be found in the links in the description of this video. The Comet messaging protocol allows you to create and use messaging channels to the sessions of the WEM application. For instance, based on the outcome of a certain flowchart process, sending a Comet message can instruct all open sessions of the application to refresh themselves. This allows for update of screen information without user interference, for instance in waiting areas of banks or hospitals, or for listing departure times in an airport. The Comet messaging node has options for sending or receiving messages on predefined channels. The last of the nodes in our flowchart bar is the Note node. It is used to display post-it-like comments in the flowchart, explaining the flow to other developers or business owners. And that concludes our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your feedback in the comments below and share the video with your colleagues and friends. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest WEM news and videos. We hope to see you soon again in the WEM Video Academy.